Hello and welcome to this Sophos Certified Training course for XG Firewall. This is Module 9, Remote Access. The Sophos XG Firewall allows users and administrators to access resources protected behind the firewall through the use of secured VPN connections. With various options available for both desktops and mobile devices, administrators can ensure that users access sensitive information in the most secure way possible. Sophos XG Firewall supports remote access via IPsec, SSL, L2TP over IPsec, PPTP, clientless access, and the Cisco VPN client. In this module, we will look at remote access using SSL VPNs, the clientless VPN portal, and enabling remote access for mobile devices. The Remote Access SSL VPN is based on OpenVPN, a full-featured SSL VPN solution. You can create point-to-point encrypted tunnels between remote employees and your company, requiring both SSL certificates and a username password combination for authentication. The one-time password functionality can also be enabled for SSL VPNs to add an additional layer of security. To manage which network resources users are able to access, you can create different remote access policies and assign users to each. Note, the XG Firewall hosts the SSL VPN server on port 8443, and on the current version, 17.0, this cannot be modified. We begin by giving the connection a descriptive name and optionally a description. This is to identify the purpose and audience for the VPN. Next, in the Identity section, we select the users and groups that we would like to grant access to. These will be the people capable of connecting to this VPN. We have the option to Use as Default Gateway. When this is enabled, all traffic from the connected device will pass through the VPN to the Sophos XG Firewall, including traffic bound for the Internet. If this option is not enabled, then the VPN client will be working as a split tunnel, where data for the permitted network resources pass through the VPN and all other traffic goes to the original default gateway of the device. Next, the network resources that the policy members will be able to access needs to be configured. This is done by adding networks, IP ranges, or hosts to the appropriate IPv4 or IPv6 list. And finally, we can set the idle timeout setting so that users will be automatically disconnected if they are not actively using the VPN. Note, you will need to create firewall rules to allow traffic to and from clients in the VPN zone. There are a number of important SSL VPN settings that can be configured. Note that these are global settings for site-to-site and remote access SSL VPNs. You can modify the SSL certificate for the connection and override the hostname used in the configuration files. You can configure the IP lease range, DNS, WINS, and domain name that will be used for clients that connect. In addition, there are a number of advanced connection settings such as the algorithms, key size, key lifetime, and compression options. Users can download the SSL VPN client from the user portal. For Windows, you can download a bundle containing the client and the configuration, or just the configuration. For all other platforms, there is only the option to download the configuration, one download for Android and iOS, and one download for all other operating systems. This simulation will show you how to install the SSL VPN client on Windows. Review the information at each stage and then click in the green box to advance to the next slide. Clientless VPN access can be used to enable access to selected network resources by creating a bookmark for each resource. It is important to note that each bookmark represents a session to a resource. So if you want to give 5 people access to a resource, you would create a bookmark for each. You can enable session sharing, which means that 2 users can use the bookmark at the same time, but there will still only be a single session. Bookmarks can be created to internal resources using a range of protocols which can be seen here. You can also create bookmark groups, which can then be used to assign multiple bookmarks in Client Access Policy, which we will look at now. Once the bookmarks have been created and optionally added to bookmark groups, they need to be assigned to a specific user or group using a clientless access policy. This simple policy just has the users and groups, the bookmarks, and an option to restrict web applications. Enabling the option to restrict web applications will suppress the secure web browsing that is enabled as part of the clientless access policy, so that users can only access URLs that bookmarks have been created for. To use clientless access, users need to log in to the user portal. At the top of the page, there will be a Secure Web Browsing section that will allow users to access sites that are hosted on the internal network, unless the option to restrict web applications was selected. At the bottom of the page, the bookmarks will be displayed in the Clientless Access Connections section as buttons that will launch the associated connection using a secure SSL tunnel. Users can connect to the Sophos XG Firewall VPN using any current smartphone or tablet. We'll look at Apple iOS devices and Android devices, as these are the most commonly used. Apple iOS devices can connect to Cisco IPsec and L2TP over IPsec VPNs, and Android devices can connect to IPsec, L2TP over IPsec, and PPTP VPNs. These are only the natively supported VPNs. Other protocols are supported through third-party applications. For example, OpenVPN-compatible apps are available for both iOS and Android, and these can be used to create an SSL VPN with XG Firewall by installing the configuration package from the user portal. Creating an IPsec VPN for mobile devices is done in Configure VPN Cisco VPN Client. To configure the Cisco VPN client, you need to specify the authentication type, which can be either pre-shared key or digital certificate, and the users that can connect to the VPN. You also need to specify an IP address pool for clients that connect to the VPN. Once you have downloaded and installed a VPN app onto your mobile device, navigate to the user portal of the XG Firewall in a web browser and sign in with your user account. Next, download the configuration file for your mobile platform. When prompted, import it into the device. If necessary, launch the VPN app and then enter your credentials to connect to the VPN. Once connected, test the VPN access by browsing to a resource on the remote network. Complete the following tasks in Lab 9. Task 9.1, configure an SSL remote access VPN. Prior to completing these tasks, you must have completed all steps up to the end of Lab 8, Task 8.1. On completion of this course, you should now be able to perform the actions shown here. Please take a moment to review these. If you are not confident that you have met these objectives, please review the material covered in this course. Click Continue when you are ready to proceed. Now that you have completed this module, you should complete Module 10, Logging, Reporting, and Troubleshooting.